So you know who Malcolm X was, right? I knew Malcolm X back when he was still Malcolm W. I think that joke is funny, even though it's not actually. So here's Malcolm X, and here's what he had to say. This is back in the 60s, what he had to say about this. We live in American elections, they're designed to suppress the vote, which is why half the people don't vote, and more than half the people who are going to vote hate voting. They're going to have puke buckets inside the voting booths. We should shoot that as a video. And really, we should, because it is. And I'm not holding my nose in voting. I'm going to go vote for someone who represents my ideals. And maybe if enough people, voted for people they liked, maybe we'd have a better country instead of a country that cowers in fear at the corporate duopoly that we now call democracy. Here's what Malcolm X had to say about it. He said, if Johnson, this is talking about Lyndon Johnson, who, brought us the Vietnam War. He also brought us civil rights and the Medicare. He brought a lot of good things, also a lot of horrible things, like the Vietnam War. If Johnson had been running all by himself, he would not have been acceptable to anyone. Meaning if Hillary Clinton is running all by herself, she wouldn't be acceptable to anyone, except she's running against clown-faced racists. The only thing that made Johnson acceptable to the world was that the shrewd capitalists, the shrewd imperialists, knew that the only way people would run toward the fox would be if you showed them a wolf. So they created a ghastly alternative. And it had the whole world, including people who call themselves Marxists, hoping that Lyndon Johnson would beat Goldwater. That's what he was saying back in the 60s. So you know what they did, right? So the guy who was actually ramping up the Vietnam War, they got this Goldwater and said remember they showed the nuclear commercial where the bomb goes off and they're like, oh my God. Everybody got afraid he was going to start a nuclear war. So they voted for Johnson. And here's the rest of that quote from Malcolm X. He says, I have to say this. Those who claim to be enemies of the system were on their hands and knees waiting for Johnson to get elected. It's like this happening today. Those who claim to be an enemy of the system are on their hands and knees right now praying that Hillary Clinton gets elected. It's the same thing. Because he is supposed to be a man of peace. And at that very moment, Johnson had troops invading the Congo and South Vietnam. He even has troops in areas where other imperialists have already withdrawn. Peace Corps to Nigeria, mercenaries to the Congo. So at that very moment, the Democrats were scaring you about a nuclear war from Barry Goldwater. Lyndon Johnson was ramping up an illegal war that killed who knows how many, with 3 million Southeast Asians ended up dying. Something like 50,000 American soldiers. And right now, people are saying, you got to vote for Hillary. You got to vote for Hillary. You got to vote for Hillary. You gotta. And if you look at her other videos, she's a war hawk, always has been, always will be. She overturns democratically elected governments in favor of right-wing strongmen that suppress the people. She's in the wrong way. And everybody's patting themselves on the back. It's so funny to see people that I used to respect patting themselves on the back for fucking voting for Hillary Clinton on their hands and knees. People who call themselves enemies of the machine, the people who call themselves, they're on their hands and knees begging that Hillary Clinton. Those who claim to be enemies of the system were on their hands and knees waiting for Johnson to get elected. Because he's supposed to be the man of peace. Malcolm X knew the truth back then, which is why they killed him. And you know, when he turned against the Vietnam War is when they took his FBI protection away. Just so you know. Just so you know. Just so you know. And we're jailing journalists right now. So if a journalist discovers that we're starting another illegal war, Barack Obama, and tells us about it, Barack Obama will put that journalist in jail. Because that's what they do. If you reveal war crimes that your country is committing, your government is committing in your name, and you tell people about it, Barack Obama will put you in jail. But you know who he won't put in jail? The guys who ordered and carried out torture. But stay afraid of Trump. Stay afraid of Trump. Stay afraid of Trump. And the neoliberal corporate war machine rolls right on, crushing people left and right. Half the country already living poor in America, the richest country in the world. You got to keep... Now, what's the next Trump going to look like? Is he actually going to have a tail?